So welcome to God Talk. This video is going to be in the humanity of Jesus. Everyone has a story is a paraphrase from the movie Amistad, which is a great performance by Anthony Hopkins. But basically the gist is every person has a story, their sufferings, their joys, etc. So this is what I'm kind of approaching this video as. So for the sake of the point of this video, I'm going to remove religious references such as saint, holy, everything like that. What you'll see is like things would just happen around him. This part might be part 1 and 2. This part is focusing on his youth. We will see, this is part of Jesus' story, in other words, the humanity side. So who is this guy who about 31% of the world worships, according to Wikipedia, who changed time from BC AD? We still go with that, although the scientists are trying the other way, it's not going to work. The Gregorian calendar we still use. Economies are dependent on the birthday, on his birthday, Christmas, and much more. So who is this? So let's start with royalty. So Joseph and Mary. Now we're not in this video. We're not going to talk much about Mary. It's because that's more the spiritual side, and Joseph has to do more with the Jewish side and in the line, so to speak. Even though we'll just leave it at that. So when you're delving into Jesus' youth, Saint Luke is pretty good. He's great for entering into the human aspect of Jesus. So let's take a look at Luke 1. Okay, so this is again the whole theme here is royalty. So Luke 1:27. To a virgin espoused to a man whose name was Joseph, of the house of David. That's really important. Some of these little things in the Bible, it's like they have a lot of meaning. And house of David is referring to Joseph's kingship, okay, or royalty. So, for example, in England, you have the House of Windsor, referring to English royalty. So, the house of David. So Joseph is a king. Was a king. So you keep going down to the paragraph in blue. The highlight in blue. He shall be great, and shall be called Son of the Most High, and the Lord God shall give unto him the throne of David. Again, words of kingship, throne. Who's David? David was the second king of Israel, his father, and he shall reign. Again, another word referring to kingship and authority in a sense. Reign in the house of Jacob forever, and his kingdom, now we have a kingdom, shall be no end. All right. So royalty. Start with a family, Joseph and Mary, St. Luke's is great, blah, blah, blah. Joseph is of the house of David. Recall the Jews wanted a human king, so rather than going back to the whole thing, they wanted a human king rather than having God their king, okay? And David was chosen after Saul, and like I said before, recall the term House of Windsor. House of Windsor, referring to the royalty line of England. Well, remember, King Herod is like a fake king, if you will. He was put there by the Roman occupiers, okay? In the same way, remember Joan of Arc, those who have seen the movie or know, and the Dauphin? The Dauphin was the real king of France, but he was not ruling because of English occupation. The English put their own people in. So in a way, Joseph is similar, in the case of Joseph. He was the real king of the Jews, of the line of David. This also means that his son, so long as the king is alive, would be prince. So Jesus was a prince. He was born a prince. Until Joseph's death, then Jesus would be the real king of the Jews, if you follow that. All right, so let's take a look at his birth. Imagine you come from a country, part of the country where the King Messiah would be coming from. Okay, so in other words, your land, where you're from, what city, what state, or what country, or what, county, whatever. From there, the prophecy was, out of your area is going to come the King Messiah. All right. So in this case, it was prophesied Bethlehem. It was the city of David, the king. Okay, remember? So also imagine a strange star, again referring to his birth. A kind of celestial event occurring at the same time of your birth that people are taking notice of. And imagine shepherds had a strange encounter. And imagine when they go visit your mother and father during your birth. Now you're a child, you won't know, but it's a strange phenomena. In addition, 3 kings from other countries are looking for you. Okay, that's like having 3 presidents from other countries or dictators or whatever come into your country, ask your president if it's where the king is the King Messiah is going to be born. I mean, it's extraordinary. And Jesus hasn't even been born yet. So and then imagine when you're born, the fake king, in this case Herod, who was put there by the Romans, I believe, is going to kill you. Right? He doesn't want to share. This is a boy, so why don't you leave the poor child alone? However, he's just a boy. If you believe this stuff, I understand, but what happens if you don't believe it, But maybe Herod knew that he was the real king. So let's take a look at 2. And they were in the same country, shepherds watching and keeping the night watch over their flock. Now here's the celestial part. And behold, an angel of the Lord stood by them. Okay? And the brightness of God shone around about them, and they feared with great fear. Again, God is awesome, but again, I'm trying to make this more of a real. Some extraordinary event occurred, some celestial event, something beyond the supernatural, some amazing light or whatever, and these, shepherds who are pretty salt of the earth, they're not the type to get fooled. They were like impressed, but they actually feared. And the angel said to him, "Don't fear. Behold, I bring you good tidings of great joy, that shall be for all the people. For this day," I'm skipping down to 11, "for this day is born to you a Savior, who is Christ the Lord, in the city of David," that's Bethlehem. "And this shall be a sign unto you, you shall find the infant wrapped in swaddling clothes and laying in a manger." Okay, swaddling clothes I think was fairly popular back then, but laying in a manger would have been very unusual. And suddenly there was with the angel a multitude of heavenly army, praising God and saying, "Glory to God in the highest, and on earth peace to men of good will." Again, we're trying to avoid the spiritual stuff, but something supernatural happened, something extraordinary. Okay. And it came to pass that the angels departed from the shepherds and said to one, "Let's go over to Bethlehem," because they knew the city of David was Bethlehem, "and let's go see the word that has come to pass, which the Lord has shown us." Now, the second aspect here is an unusual one, again, referring to the 3 kings. How is it that you have 3... Now, it says here 3 wise men. If you do your research, it's kings. Okay, there's a reason why they use it wise men. But anyway, they're kings. They know their names, etc. Balthazar, whatever. And so, with Matthew 1, when Jesus, therefore, was born in Bethlehem in the days of Herod, behold, there came wise men from the east to Jerusalem. Okay. Now what they said, this is what they said. Where is he that is born King of the Jews? Now this is they were inquiring. Okay. We have seen his star in the east and coming to adore him. So there's a lot of things here. So they're inquiring about this King of the Jews. Well, Herod's the supposed king, but that's not what they're talking about. They're talking about the real King of the Jews, and probably the Messiah King. Okay, we saw his star in the east. Again, a celestial phenomena in the east, and we are coming to adore him. No, we're not adoring. Again, these are kings. Kings don't adore anybody. They're not going to adore Herod. They're coming to adore the child. After all, he's being born, so it's a child. And King Herod, hearing this, was troubled, I would imagine, because he's going to be dethroned, he thinks, maybe. But this is interesting. And all of Jerusalem with him. Now, that's a phrase. But, in other words, a lot of people are, like, troubled. What's going on here? We have a king, but our king is Herod for now, but what's going on? In other words, is the prophecy? Is there a prophecy happening right now? And anyway, so and assembling together were the chief priests, the people who knew the religious heads of the religious chief priests and scribes of the people. Inquire them. Well, where's the Christ? Now they're suspecting here that this is the Messiah that they're talking about. So where's Christ going to be? Where's Christ going to be born? But they said to him, in Bethlehem, again the city of David of Judah, for it is written by the prophet, and you, Bethlehem, the land of Judah, are not the least among the princes of Judah, for out of thee shall come forth the captain or leader or king that shall rule my people Israel. So again, a king rules. So again, referring to the royalty, and so then Herod privately calls the wise men, saying, what did you hear about this? What is this star you're talking about? And he's trying to learn about him, and then he sent them to Bethlehem, because now they know where, and then he's kind of lying to them, saying, why don't you inquire about the child, and once you've found him, bring word to me that I may also adore him. Okay, Herod was not going to adore him. Herod was going to kill him. So, because Herod was, he wanted to maintain his kingship. So, in 9, who having heard the king went their way, and behold, they followed the star, before the Magi, the wise men. They beheld the star that they were looking for, and they seen it in the west, and it went before them, until it came and stood over the child. Again, the star they don't stand still. Hey, people look up at the sky, stars moving, they move, across the sky. But this one stood over where the child was. So that's another weird thing. And seeing the star, they rejoiced. This is where the child's going to be. And they entered into the house. The house is a loose term because it was a kind of a cave or a dwelling. They found the child with Mary his mother, and falling down, they adored him. So now they recognize him as the divine king. And opening their treasures. Now, again, how many wise men have all these treasures that are expensive, and gold and frankincense? So, in other words, do your research. It's not just wise men, it's kings. Falling down, they adored him. Opening their treasures, they offered gifts to him, gold, frankincense, and myrrh, which are expensive spices. And having received an answer in their sleep that they should not return to Herod, they went another way into their country. Okay? So that's what happened with so we had the shepherds having their experience, the kings having their experience, and then Herod. So what's Herod going to do? So poverty and flight. So poverty, we'll start with poverty. For Christ's first 7 years, he was poor. He was poverty and he was homeless, pretty much. Okay? So, in other words, when they, remember, they stayed basically in a dwelling, a cave, or, place where the animals are. That's because there was no room at the end. That's how he started his life. He was started in poverty. So let's read further with Matthew and about the flight. So when there's two things going on here. So there's two scenes, if you will. One is a scene with Joseph and Mary and Jesus, okay? And the other scene is with Herod. Okay, so let's go to Joseph and Mary. So take the child and his mother. Behold, an angel of the Lord appeared to sleep in St. Joseph. Arise and take the child and his mother and fly into Egypt. And be there until I say, to return, basically. For it will come to pass that Herod is going to seek out the child to destroy him. Poor Jesus just got born. And they're going to... Imagine like your president has an army and they're going to come destroy your child. And what are you going to do? You're going to probably fly, to another country if you can. So you get the point here. This is unusual. This is just a baby. And look at the drama associated with this one human baby, right? And so Herod will seek to child destroy it. So Joseph, who rose up and took the child and his mother by night immediately and retired into Egypt, and was there until the death of Herod. Okay, there's so much in that, but let's just... So, how far is it from Bethlehem to Egypt? It's about a month's worth of walking. Okay? Imagine walking with a child and a new mother, and it was right around December-ish. It was cold, maybe snow. And you don't know, you're just going, you're asking people, how do I get to Egypt? You're going, there's a lot to this, just meditating on this whole thing. And then while you're in Egypt, until he was there to the death of Herod, that was about 7 years. Okay? So, we'll continue on. So, and the prophecy was, out of Egypt I have called my son. So, moving on to 16. Then Herod, now we got the scene of Joseph and Mary and Jesus in flight. They're poor, and now they're in flight. So Jesus will be homeless for about homeless / poor. He'll be poor for 7 years. Okay, so basically he entered the world in poverty, in homelessness. Okay. So in 16, then Herod perceived that he was deluded by the wise men. He was deceived, and he was angry. And he's sending men to kill all the children that were in Bethlehem and the borders, from 2 years old and under. So all these children are being killed. Again, for this one baby. So, and who knows how many? Hundreds of kids, 2 years old and under, and the border. According to the time which they diligently inquired of the wise men. And they prophesied about this in the Old Testament. A voice in Ramah was heard, lamentations and great mourning, Rachel bewailing her children, and they would not be comforted because they were no more. So there's that one. So then Herod was, when he died, the angel appeared to St. Joseph. Now, the families in Egypt, Saint Joseph, Mary, and Jesus are in Egypt. Now the angel appears to him and says, "Go back. Herod's dead." So then, arise and take the child and his mother and go into the land of Israel. For they that are dead sought the life of the child, referring to Herod. So he's now dead. And then who rose, took his mother, and came into the land of Israel. Okay? So, and they ended up living in Nazareth. So, so poverty and flight. So all those children were killed. And it takes about, like I said, about a month or so to walk to Egypt, who knows. And about 7 years of poverty, begging, probably homeless for a while. They were foreigners. Egyptians spoke Coptic. The Jews spoke Aramaic, so there was no language issue. Joseph was, however, known to be, he built dwellings. Okay? So he may have made a dwelling eventually, or a makeshift house in Egypt, or makeshift shack, or whatever you want to call it. So that might have been possible because he was astute he built dwelling places, basically houses or whatever you want to call it. So that's just the introduction of Jesus, and having nothing to do with his. He's just a baby, and look what he has. He's just being born, and up to 7 years. This is what is going on in his life. This is his humanity. He was born, in these kind of bizarre things are happening all around him. He's being sought after to be killed, and then he has to live in poverty, in flight. So, welcome to Earth. All right, so part 2 will be more about maybe his humanity as he was older. Just so you know that many, not much is known when, from the year 7, when Jesus was 7 years old, to about 30. Not much was known. But one thing for sure is Joseph had died, and that Jesus was the real king.